Hi, good morning. I'm here to talk about more policy-related topics. So hands up, those of you who've got open source libraries up on the internet somewhere. So maybe half of you or something like that. Okay. So oh, sorry. Oh yes, okay, that works. Okay, so the EU has been very focused at the moment on cybersecurity, and there's a whole bunch of EU laws that have been announced recently or in the process of being announced. How many people have been paying any attention to these things? Okay, so there's not a very large cross-section from the people who have libraries out there and the people who are paying attention, which is good. So I'm here to tell you to at least pay attention to some of the things that are going on. So one of the acts that's out there is the Cyber Resiliency Act. It pertains a lot to individual products that you might have thought of in the past as like pieces of hardware, but if they now have software in them, then the software is also going to be covered by EU law. So basically, they want to make you, or the manufacturers and producers of products need to have, be very careful about how they deliver products, and they need to be responsible for the software inside of them. So if you've seen products before, they have CE marks. In the past, that used to mean that it's not going to electrocute you and it's not poisonous if you lick it. In the future, it's going to mean things about the quality of the software that's inside the system as well. So the high-level idea is that you need to have put CE marks on some of your software, and that's going to affect the whole of the supply chain. So if you look at it as well from a legal perspective, this covers all manufacturers and importers of products into the EU. So if the product was made outside the EU, but you import it, it will be covered by this law. If you manufacture it in the EU, it is naturally covered by this law. So being a not-for-profit does not get you off the hook. So if you're doing work for not-for-profit organizations, that does not mean that you're excluded from this law. Open source, which has no commercial activity, so that may apply to many of you guys who have libraries up there. If you are not in any way monetizing that library, then you are excluded from this law. But if you are monetizing your activities in any way, shape, or form, in principle even taking small donations, you should be aware of the fact that this may mean you too. And just to be clear, I'm not here to frighten you. I'm here to tell you that I think this is a good thing and we need to write better software. So this is more of an intent to alert you to the things that you'll need to be focused on in the future. The US is also starting to raise the bar on these types of things. There's a bunch of URLs for those of you sort of interested. The Cyber Resiliency Act has its equivalents for this new federal organization called the CISA, and that's Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency. I was recently at RSA, and they had a very large booth telling everybody that they're, please be careful and write better software. So general takeaways from the presentation should be you'll need to know your supply chain. So if you're further down the supply chain, so I work in the Erlang space. If you think about it, we're at relatively low down the supply chain, but we use GCC further down, and we need to be talking to people who are engaged in bits and pieces of the C that we depend upon down below. And if you're writing libraries, you need to know who's going to be using you and also which libraries you call upon further down the stack. Software bill of materials will become relatively standard in the industry relatively quickly. Attestations will become more common, and digital attestation tools will start to turn up. And so this is, for instance, some of the language that the CISA wants you to make statements about. So this is only if you're selling software to the federal government, but there will be I think these rules will start to appear in commercial areas and other things over the next 5 years. Fundamentally, the threat to society from cybercrime continues to rise, and people want to make sure that the quality of the software improves so that we don't keep having ransomware attacks and other types of things. So for any of you who want to be professionally involved in software writing, you will need to know about this stuff going forward. Am I done for timing?
That's fine.
Okay.
So thank you very much.